Alright, Magic the Gathering's color pie is set in its ways, alright? They've been trying to break out of it a little bit more lately, but us over here at Nick's Lotus have instilled the services of the Deck Defiance crew to show us how to break the mold and make the deck building experience a little more interesting. Welcome to Deck Defiance, where we see what a color's good at, and we do the polar opposite. Today we got mono black. What comes to mind with mono black? Removal? Life for value? Discard? Alright, cool. Let's do the opposite. Removal. Let's give our opponents some creatures. Using our life for value? Well, I don't think we're the only ones that should be able to do that. Let's let our opponents do that as well. Discard? No. Let's give our opponents some card draw. Ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like we've got a mono black group hug on our hands. First things first is finding the right commander. There are good ones like Rankle, Master Prankster, and Feign the Broker. They both supply like a pseudo amount of value for our opponents, but it's mainly value for us, and it really doesn't jive with the outline that we've set up. But oh dear God, does our boy Gix fit the bill. While we're giving our opponents creatures, Gix will let them pay life for the value of drawing. Boom, Gix seems perfect. So let's get into the weeds of this deck, starting with the cards that give our opponents creatures. There are a total of 11 cards that give our opponents creatures that we can run in mono black, so you best believe we got all of them. Some highlights out of the bunch would have to be cards like a Crow and Horse, Genesis Chamber, and Acorn Catapult, which can supply our opponents with a steady stream of tokens that they can use paired with Gix's ability to start drawing some cards while draining themselves in the process, which is pretty good for us. Speaking of drawing cards, we've got a lot of it. We've got 17 ways for us and our opponents to draw cards. Some highlights would have to be Bloodgift Demon and Sizen Perverter of Truth, which both fit the theme around group hug with a little bit of damage payment thrown in there. Along with the classics like Howling Mine and Horn of Greed, everyone's gonna have a full grip, that's for sure. Which won't be too bad with our Psychosis Crawler. What did I say? Nothing. I don't think I said anything. Moving on to the coolest part of the deck is the interactions. Let's go through some cards that work great in here, starting with Cover of Darkness. 1 and a black for an enchantment. When Cover of Darkness comes into play, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type can't be blocked except by black and artifact creature. This works great with cards like a Crow and Horse and again Acorn Catapult, which one supply a steady stream of tokens of the same type that we can name for Cover of Darkness, but on top of that it creates green and white creatures which won't be able to block each other when they swing, which pairs perfectly with Gix's combat trigger. Love this thing. Thorn of the Black Rose and Custody Lich are extremely good because they introduce Monarch into the game, and as soon as you let someone hit you to take it, it's just your opponents swinging at each other for Monarch, triggering Gix, so on. Awesome in here. Speaking of awesome, we've got Ill-Gotten Gains. Ill-Gotten Gains is an amazing one because you can make everyone discard their hand, but a simple reminder of like a solid card that they have in their graveyard from before will make them forget about the fact their hand's gone. Plus, they can just pick up some of the cards they just discarded out of their hand. Great way to keep all the card draw that we run in check while not becoming public enemy number 1. It also interacts nasty with Dauthi Voidwalker if it's later in the game, and maybe we're going for a win that game, which is the nice part about mono black group hug is you can actually win with it. Cards like Living End, Endless Whispers, and Living Death not only supply our opponents with recursion for their biggest creatures, but they can also double as ways for us to win late game. And if they decide to use all those creatures we get back for them to swing at us, we can use cards like Koskin Falls and Stunning Reversal to keep us alive if they decide to come our way, in which case we'll be able to follow up with cards like Torrent of Hailfire, or just the tokens we made over the course of the game, paired with the aforementioned Cover of Darkness, may be able to bring it home. And at the end of the day, we're group hug. We're not really trying to win most games, but we could if we wanted to. I just want you to know that. I want to talk about Endless Whispers and Endbringer's Revel. These cards keep our opponent's creatures in play, and swinging Endless Whispers specifically is a super interesting one, as it incentivizes opponents swinging at open players or weaker players that run less removal as to not lose their creatures to the opponent. And we're mono black, lots of removal, we got some creatures in play, may not want to swing our way. Endbringer's Revel also allows any player to pay 4 during their turn to return a creature card from their graveyard to hand, which will fuel our opponents running Reanimator and ETB decks, so if those specific kinds of decks are at the table, we can group hug the shit out of them. Also, Mightstone is just really good in this deck. It pumps up all the tokens that are dishing out damage to our opponents. Gotta love it. And on top of all that, we haven't even talked about Gix's second ability yet. 4 and 3 black, discard X cards. Exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play lands and cast spells from among cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. All our lands and mana cards that we have from all this card draw, we can just get rid of those and draw into more card draw, win conditions, token makers, board wipes. We can draw into anything we need with this thing and play it, and it just fuels the deck even harder. Any way you use it, it's extremely useful. If any card popped into your head for this deck during this video, please comment it down below. This is a deck I'm genuinely going to start making, actually, because through the process of making this, it's actually the exact kind of goofy shit I would try to do. Drop a like and sub if you're not already. If you'd like to show some additional support, you can go over to patreon.com/NicksLotus. It starts as low as $1 to gain access to the Discord and get shouted out at the end of the video. Speaking of shoutouts at the end of the video, we got our $1 Lotus Dippers, Tyler, Betsy, David, Exver Fiend, Big Dog, and Horny Badger. We got our 2 $5 Lotus Enjoyer, Telescope Teddy, and Daniel Romero. And we've got our 1 Lotus Loving Son of a Gun, El Flapo. Much love you guys, and much love you guys watching. And go play some Magic.